Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another video. So in this video, I will be talking about the importance of not being materialistic sometimes. And what I mean by that is not being materialistic to the point where you're not even able to evaluate a position correctly. So I've shared my screen, and here I'm going to show you two of my games where being materialistic costed me. It costed me to lose. And I will start from this game. Here is the first one. So I had the white pieces, and the position is very similar to a reverse Carlsbad structure, which comes from the Queen's Gambit declined. So in this position, the last moves were f3 from my side. Obviously, he cannot play knight g3 because of queen e5 check, and I win the knight. So he went back, my opponent, and this game was in January 2019 in the Scottish Cup. So I was also representing my team. So here I saw that I can get a free pawn, and I grabbed it. So I played queen takes e7. And I saw that after he attacks my queen has only one square to go to, but it will go to b4 and it will be fine. However, my queen is very badly placed there because it has nowhere to go. And my opponent played knight g3 in order, knight h5 in order to exploit the weaknesses on the g3 and f4 squares, so my terrible dark squares, and to start creating threats against my king. I followed up with knight c5. I'm attacking his bishop, and I think that I'm doing well here. But he went knight f4. So by going knight f4, he's bringing his knight to a very good square. Very strong players have said that a knight on f4 for black and a knight on f5 for white, if their opponent has castled kingside, is worth a rook. So very dangerous position for me. Very well placed knight. And now I brought my rook to e1 from a1 in order to fight for the open e file. Okay. Now he goes queen f6. So he wants to bring the queen into the attack. He doesn't care about me taking the bishop, of course, because he will follow up with queen g5, threatening a checkmate. And if I go g4, he will simply go queen h4, and not anything I can do to avoid losing. And of course, if I go, for instance, after, let's say, knight takes b7, queen g5, let's say I go rook f2, he can pick up the rook on e1. If I go rook e2, then he will play rook takes e2, and when I take back, it's going to be a checkmate. So yeah, not many options. So certainly I cannot take the bishop. So instead, I exchange the pair of rooks just to remove some of the pressure. And now I played queen b3, intending to go queen c2 and thinking that everything would be fine. This is how far I had calculated, but it was not enough. So he went queen g5, threatening a checkmate, and I went queen c2, defending it. But the move I missed was rook e2, a very nice move by my opponent, which basically forces me to give up the queen, because if I take with the bishop, then it's a checkmate. So I give up the queen, knight takes, bishop takes. So now I have a rook and a bishop and a pawn for a queen. Sorry, a rook, a knight, and a pawn for a queen. However, the queen is dominant, and he's close to winning. I mean, maybe Carlsen could hold it, but it's a very tough position. And yeah, these are the following moves. And soon I resigned. Yeah, here I resigned. So what should I have done instead of all this? Because arguably I had a very good position. I mean, not winning, but a very good position here after f3 and knight f6. What I should have done was very simple: just improve my position even further. Do not grab the pawn, do not be in a rush, do not give him unnecessary counterplay. And now after knight c5, it is a threat to take this pawn, because if, let's say, he plays a bad move like h6 and I take the pawn, now let's say he attacks me with either of his rooks, I'm threatening to take the bishop on b7. So now it's justified because I have time. And if he goes rook c7, for instance, I can just drop back my queen, for example. So knight c5 was certainly a much better move here. And let's say he defends his pawn by going e6. Now I can just go b4 and cement my knight there, and I have a very strong knight. The only way to exchange it is by bringing his knight to d7. But even if he does so, I'm going to let him take, and I will have an outside passed pawn. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm very obsessed about passed pawns, and I really value what Nimzovich said about them, that the passed pawn is a criminal that must be held under lock and key. Mild measures, such as police surveillance, are not sufficient. This was said by Nimzovich in his book, My System, one of the best books ever written about chess. So This was game 1 in 2019, and it shows you why grabbing a pawn and not improving your position can lead to a defeat, and very quickly. And what is even worse about this game is that in this position I was not completely winning, but I was clearly dominant, and there is no way I can think of losing because his bishop is blocked by his own pawns. I have a very powerful knight. His knight is not so powerful because he doesn't have access to the e4 square. My bishop is very well placed looking at his king. I have plans of going a4. I have plans of attacking on the king side as well. I mean, it's very, very hard to lose this position. I believe that, yeah, if you put 2 strong players of equal strength to play this position, white will win most of the times and black will be very happy if they can get a draw. Anyway, moving on to the next game. So now this game here, I had the black pieces. So let me flip the board, but yeah, the opening is more or less irrelevant. Okay, I'm going to go very quickly through. So I'll show you the critical position. I won't get into depth analysis about what happened, but after move rook e8, my opponent went bishop e7. So in this position, I have 2 options. My queen is under attack, and I have 2 options. One of them is to move the queen, and one of them is to sacrifice the exchange. Well, as a materialistic guy that I was, and still am, to be honest, I obviously didn't even think about giving the exchange, and I played queen d7. And now my opponent took, and now exploits again my weak light square. So just to grab a pawn, just to maintain being a pawn up in this game, I've neglected my king, and the knight is very dangerous along with the queen. The queen and the knight, actually, sometimes they work better than the queen and the bishop, and I can give you a very simple mathematical equation which explains why this is the case, because the queen and the knight together combined can attack all 64 squares on the chessboard, while the queen and the bishop can attack only 32 of them together. So I swapped off a pair of rooks. I grabbed another pawn, thinking that my bishop from there will be helpful in defending. Queen h5 by my opponent. I went there hoping for an exchange of rooks, but it was a blunder because of this move, queen g4, a very nice move by my opponent. And now I'm forced to lose because if I take the queen, he will simply take here, and when I move, he will take there, and I'm a whole rook down for 2 pawns, but that's irrelevant. I'm completely lost. So I played this move. I went there. He took my queen. I took his rook. I grabbed another pawn, but it's just hopeless. And very quickly, I made the losing move, which was b6. And now he attacks both of my pieces. So the queen attacks both the rook and the bishop. I'm going to move the rook. He's going to take the bishop, and I just resigned. So what should I have done instead in this game to save it? So I'm not saying I would save it. I don't know what's going to happen. But if I had played the move rook takes e7, now knight e4, this clearly was much better than what happened in the game, and the engine agrees. I mean, the first option was -5, and this option is like 0.5 for my opponent because I was anyway a pawn up from before. So the rook's under attack. He's not forced to give the exchange, and there, who knows, it's just equal if he gives the exchange, right? But if he goes here, his rook is still safe, and I cannot win the rook. However, there is one thing to note, that my knight is very powerful there, and I have ideas of going c6 and bishop c7, and it's not so easy for him to convert his material advantage, which is only like a rook for a pawn and a bishop. So I would have had much more chances to hold this, and who knows what would have happened. I would say 3 results. More likely he would win than me, but I think the most likely result here would be a draw. That's my personal opinion. Anyway, so in both of these games, I hope that it became clear to you why you should not be materialistic. And yeah, sometimes there are some players who prefer to be a pawn up and defend. I've always fell into that category. On the other hand, there are some other players that would rather give a pawn or even give material to get an attack. Other people are in that category. Both options are perfectly fine. There are even some players that are comfortable in both situations, and I really admire them. But what I'm trying to say in this video is that you should not be materialistic to the point where you cannot think objectively and you cannot evaluate objectively a position, and you prefer being -5 with an extra pawn like here, or instead of being minus 0.5 with decent chances to make a draw, like in the position that you can see. This is what I'm trying to say, is not to be ridiculously materialistic to the point where you cannot think objectively. Anyway, I hope you like this video. I'm looking forward to your comments. And yeah, if you are a competitive chess player and you want to fund your chess progress, traveling to tournaments has expenses. For example, paying for an entry fee, for accommodation if it's not just a one-day event, and also for transport if you're going to go to another city. Now, also you might be considering to hire a coach, which I also do myself. I'm a chess coach. And you might also be interested to invest into chess books and courses, for example, on Chessable, that might interest you. So you're going to have your expenses. And also, if you really want to become a good player and you're in a 9-to-5 job, you're sadly going to have only 28 days off per year for your chess, which might not be aligning with your dreams. So you might be interested in what I am doing to earn an income online through a side hustle. So if that's the case, you can go to www.nicolasgetos.co.uk, insert your name and email, and watch my free web class where you will learn the 3 secrets my mentors use to generate a consistent income online and how you can do it too, even if you have no previous experience, qualifications, or no product to sell. If you're a subscriber, I will catch you at the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.